which I think what biohacking is. So today we're learning about biohacking,
All
really
right.
what it means and what it does, why it's good for you.
You said you wouldn't tell anybody about the oil, so.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to say between the two of us.
So a few of the things we're going to talk about are on the desk right here. But thanks everybody on the phone. Thanks for tuning in. So biohacking that's kind of a term. It's almost like the term paleo. Like Mike and I have been eating well for a while, right? Avoiding blatantly unhealthy foods, and all of a sudden it's paleo, right? Well, the same thing with biohacking. It's like certain things that we do, and obviously I've evolved a little bit. That's why you see me with flashlights in my ears and stuff. But ultimately, this has all kind of evolved over the years. And you'll see in this presentation kind of how that's happened. But one warning that I'll give you guys is like I might go into some stuff that seems a little weird.
Probably is.
Just have an open mind, because honestly, when some of this stuff was first like demonstrated to me, I remember I went in like 2005 to a Paul Chek event, and I left there like I gotta shave my head, I gotta like do all this weird stuff. But what's funny is I discounted a ton of the stuff he said, and then like 5 or 6 years later, he was spot on. He was actually way ahead of the curve. So, finding your place in the spectrum, and what I mean by that is we're all already biohackers, right? If you've ever been on a treadmill, you're biohacking. You're trying to create a situation for your body to be healthier in an environment that doesn't really facilitate that. That's what biohacking is. It's like, and then the far end of the spectrum is George Bush with a tinfoil hat on, but that's just saying that there are people out there, and maybe not George Bush, but the tinfoil hat. There's people like that too, like Ben Greenfield. All right, next slide. So this was just kind of a funny picture. This was on my way back from Costa Rica, and ran like on the plane, not security, but actually getting onto the plane. They were like, we have an additional security clearing process. Could you please empty your pockets? And this is what I actually had in my pockets at the time. So this is just kind of an intro. So nutritionally, you always want to kind of travel with something that can support that. So I got a tea bag, lemongrass tea, which kind of supports cortisol production and kind of help you deal with stress, especially for traveling. Brain octane, which is in the middle of the table here, which is that is like a distilled coconut oil. That, coconut oil, we know the benefits. I'll kind of go into them later. Headphones. So one of the kind of things that a lot of biohackers are trying to avoid are things like EMF, and we're going to focus mostly on nutrition today, but just to give you some background, it spans every aspect of life. Headphones, if you're on your cell phone a lot, it's healthier to have headphones than it is to put the cell phone right up to your head, because of all that radiation that's coming off the phone over time. If you're on the phone 5 hours a day, that's really bad. If you look at like digital x-rays of people that have long cell phone conversations, their brain is actually lit up. This is an amber nightlight, which we'll talk about later. Some sunglasses, always travel with a small roll of duct tape too, and I'll explain why later. All right, this is awesome. All right, so the whole, again, kind of the need for the treadmill, right? So the whole thing here is this theory of a mismatch, right? So our evolution, for millions of years, we hunted our food, we rose with the sun, we fell with the sun, we spent hours foraging for 7 blueberries. And then all of a sudden, over the last couple of 100 years, we've had this just hockey stick of change, right? And we've gone from a very active, kind of anti-fragile species to a very fragile, sedentary, high sugar diet, artificial light, nutrition in the pit. So it's a square peg in a round hole. Hence the need for biohacking. Unless you're going to go become a hunter and gatherer, there are things about our modern society that make it very difficult to be healthy. Does that make sense?
Why is trying to be like anybody?
I just,
As you slouch in your chair,
A super big gulp.
for those on the phone, Solo's got a big gulp soda and some kind of treat.
he does go to discotheque every night though.
Then he burns it off. But the whole theory here is that there's a mismatch between our DNA and our lifestyles, right? And that's what we're trying to quote unquote hack. Now, we are biohacking in this office more than we realize, perhaps. Here's Barger at a standing desk. How many of you guys use a standing desk?
define you.
No,
but
you
yeah.
can't raise your hand. You haven't stood up once yet.
She has one.
So standing desk, this is a biohack. He's trying to cater his environment or his internal demand in an environment that otherwise doesn't support better health. What's the next biohack I saw you off say? All right, so Joe, what are they trying to do? Vibram, what was Vibram trying to do when they came up with the 5-finger shoes? What's he trying to do? Why the hell is he barefoot? Anyone read Born to Run?
Yeah.
This is better on your joints.
So that's
You're supposed to walk on
exactly.
your toes.
You're supposed to walk on your toes?
Well, the balls of your feet instead
Yeah,
of
sure.
shoes kind of have you walk on your heels instead.
Yeah, absolutely. In a world where 85% of people are going to have back pain at some point, the hips are just a reflection of the ankles, right? So if my ankles are screwed up, my hips are going to kind of make up the difference for the rest of my body. So yeah, when people read Born to Run, Vibram came out, all of a sudden every single person with back pain is walking around with barefoot shoes, right? So that's a biohack. He's trying to make the most. What can he do at this desk that's going to facilitate better health or less pain or whatever? Don't wear shoes. Biohack. Analyst. Working on her posture at the office. She wants to make sure she wasn't slouching.
I
It's
was
a biohack.
forced
Easy
to
to slouch. Even a stand-up desk is easy to slouch.
It's easy to slouch, it
I've
is.
never seen that. Look at all of us right now. We're like,
The Swiss balls, right? So this is all just biohacking. All right, next one. Someone already dropped off the phone.
They slouch too much.
Nutrition, like what are we trying to do here? This is a biohack, right? We're not eating salad at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'll put a scoop of superfood, super protein, or super fuel into my drink, right? So we're trying to make it easier on our body. All right, and the whole thing here, what we're trying to do is create a positive kind of internal environment, right? So a balanced internal environment versus imbalanced. Hormonally, everything has an effect on us, from how we sit, how we spend our time, how much we move, how much we eat, what we drink. And there's really 3 or 4 primary things that biohacking is trying to alleviate. Posture, stress, light and nutrition. And I mean light, like artificial light. These are the 3 things in our modern lives that actually cause the biggest problems hormonally. And so we're going to dive into those now. Movement. There goes another one. They're dropping like flies on the.
I think that was only 2. Oh no, there's the music. Once the music starts, you know you've made your mark.
So the first thing, and I want you guys to kind of leave here with like really easy to incorporate lessons, right? Because that's really where we start. Movement is number 1. If there's one thing you can do, it's not diet. I would hypothesize that movement is actually more important than diet for most people. Because the opposite of sitting isn't standing. Many of the issues with sitting, that sitting creates, yeah, it sucks to have your hips flexed and all this positioning, but ultimately it's the stagnation. It's like if you think about water, the body's 70% water, right? Can you drink water that just doesn't move all day? Or would you want to drink water that's flowing and moving? So our body is 70% water, so whether we're here or whether we're here, many of the issues are the same. And it relates to joints not being lubricated and not moving enough, not being weight bearing. Well, standing takes care of that, but movement is key. Many of you seen and asked why the hell I sit on the bucket of productivity?
It's uncomfortable.
Well, it is, but my knees are above my hips, right? So if you think about from an evolutionary standpoint, we sat around campfires or whatever, so from an ankle dorsiflexion, an ankle mobility, a hip mobility, a core stability, an upright posture, sitting on something really low is actually better for us.
You ever seen I think it was Gray Cook pointed this out, watch a toddler pick up a heavy weight.
Yep.
He's like deep squat, perfect hip alignment, grabs the thing, just stands up right over it. And
Exactly.
there's other people who can't even touch their toes. The toddlers are killing it.
You watch a baby.
Yeah.
Watch a baby move, and we're taking a ton of lessons. I just did a talk overseas, and basically half my slides were babies, because if you watch them, they're moving perfectly. And the other thing is, if you think about how we move, how long can a baby lay on their back? How long can a 3-month-old lay on their back with their knees in the air? All day. I can do it for like 5 minutes before I'm like, right? So that's because they have perfect intra-abdominal pressure, no preoccupations, they have perfect joint centration, perfect joints, they're mobile, right? Yeah, it's cool. All right, now, when it comes to improving health, I am constantly harping on this. Many of you probably heard my Everest challenge. Basically, I figured out that if you take the stairs into this office every single day, you'll climb Mount Everest by the end of the year, just by avoiding the elevator. Because if you think about 5 flights of stairs, 6 flights of stairs, 10 to 12 feet per stair, you'll climb 30,000 feet by like November if you did it 5 days a week. Which is pretty cool. So if you think about folks, not in this office, but anywhere, taking the elevator and then going to the gym after work, right? Crushing it for an hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then otherwise just sitting around. This is the biggest issue. If you think about sports, what sports do you play, Mike?
Not much anything anymore.
No, as a kid.
Soccer.
High school soccer. Mike Morris, how much did you practice soccer, right? We had
Every
soccer every day. Every day he had soccer after school, and then when he was bored on the weekends, he was practicing too. How many hours a week was he practicing soccer? Quite a bit. He got good at soccer, right? Did that practice in soccer improve his ability to throw darts?
One could argue yes.
Don't argue, because I know you could make an argument, but my point is that our bodies get good at what we do, and it gets bad at what we don't do. So more than likely, if he played soccer for 10 years, if there was an upper body dominant sport, he'd probably get worse at it. Or if there was a sport that took a completely opposing physiological demand. So what we do, what we practice, is what we get good at. So if you think about if we're sitting at a desk 9 to 5, not moving, and then crushing it an hour, 3 days a week, are we practicing exercising, or are we practicing getting good at sitting down? Because our body is going to get good at sitting down because it's like, man, this guy really loves this position. So I want to tighten his hips. I don't need ankle mobility. I don't need core strength. I just want to make it easier for this person to stay in this position because that appears to be his sport. Right? So my belief has been, until you're walking 10,000 steps a day, until you're taking the stairs every single day, joining a gym or cranking on deadlifts or whatever is just ridiculous because you don't have a very strong foundation. And in proof of this is somebody else in the office and me. So this is me not on an exercise day. This is just daily life. I think the workout was like 30 push-ups and a few lunges. Like there was like a 10-minute workout here and it was just at lunch. And then this other person, who will remain nameless, went to like a high-intensity spin class, right? Had the exact same day as me, but did a really high-intense group exercise class, right? And what do we notice? Who burned more calories? Who covered more ground? Who had more steps? Right? Mathematically, I did far more and had no exercise. I burned 1,000 more calories that day, not doing an exercise session, but sitting on the bucket of productivity and moving every chance I get. Every single phone call, especially now that we have a competition, every single phone call is walking. It's not standing, it's not sitting, it's going up and down the stairs, it's going outside, getting sun, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So movement throughout the day, every chance you get, will do more than any boot camp.
So why you talk with your hands so much?
I'm Italian, yeah.
He's cheating.
Guy's skipping on his arm.
Oh, shit, I'm racking steps right now.
Cheating.
Cheating!
I told her that.
He's cheating, everyone in the video.
8,500 steps so far today.
Hand gestures.
He doesn't walk anywhere.
I've been standing right here. Yeah, exactly. And then this is the other kind of interesting thing. 120 what they consider active minutes, which is actually more than the other person.
Is that based on movement or heart rate?
It's based on elevations and heart rate. So yeah, so the proof is in the pudding, right? You can literally do more good for your body by not exercising if you prioritize movement, taking the stairs, etc. All right.
Big if there.
Nutrition.
Oh,
Famous.
hero today, man.
That's great.
I
I
just
ran 9 miles.
You didn't know it was Solo's desk. You just walked by it.
I had no idea what that is. All right, so nutrition. We can make this kind of interactive. Nutrition,
You didn't get the cigarettes.
This is no, but we're gonna talk about this because I mean, Dan probably looks better with his shirt off than I do, but
Pretty good with the shirt off.
I eat. I would argue that I eat better, right? We'll talk about that in a little while. All right, nutrition.
How much you have for lunch
Yeah,
yesterday?
and let's.
We had pizza with fries.
It was a family-sized pizza, family-sized fries.
And we can make this a little bit interactive, but here's the thing about nutrition. Number one is nutrition as a standalone variable can be less important than other things like movement. And this is a little bit of my own personal theory and experience, but my talk. Nutrition can be less important than other variables, and we can see this. It's called the French paradox, right? French people just crush saturated fat and cheese all day. They drink a lot of wine, but they're way healthier than us. And we're like, oh, don't drink, don't eat cheese, don't do this, don't do that. Well, you know, obviously there's other variables at play. And the other golden rule is avoidance is more important than the next big thing. Sorry, Shakeology. I made a lot of enemies on Facebook one day when I said Shakeology is the biggest scam ever. Because what this is, when folks start drinking a Shakeology, like, and I'm not going to make this about Shakeology. Someone swears by a particular diet or a particular drink or a particular supplement. Okay, I'm sure that thing is sort of healthy, but the reason it's working is because now you're not having a big gulp and an egg and cheese from Dunkin' Donuts. Your health improvement have more to do with what you're not eating than what you are. So if people are a lot of people there's so much information out there that they will take the step in one plane and start drinking a $5 a day smoothie, but then not quit smoking, or then not do this, right? So avoidance is more important than what you add, what you take away, and that's also more sustainable habits a lot, right? I know somebody that just started doing the $5 a day smoothies, and after they're like, oh, they're so great, and then they're 6 weeks in, shit, it's $500 a month I'm spending on this stuff, right? I can't do this anymore. All right. So, avoidance is more important. So until you're kind of avoiding all the blatantly bad stuff, don't stress about macros, micros, carbs, proteins, fats. Don't stress on the next big diet. Until you're eating what you know is clean pretty consistently, don't worry about the fads, right? Seriously, once a week, someone's like, oh man, grapes, you should avoid grapes, right? Grapes are shit, right? And it's like, dude, you just had a Justin's peanut butter cup. Grapes? So, yeah, there are sugars and there are foods that have higher effects on insulin and whatnot. But at the point you're worrying about a grape or a banana, which one's worse, unless you haven't had a sip of booze in 3 years, you're not at that level. Does that make sense? So, until you've avoided the blatantly unhealthy stuff for a long period of time, how many carbs, how many fats, these are secondary things. Whole foods, good foods, food of the day for a long period of time without a lot of deviation. And then that will get you 80% of the way where you want to go, 90%, 100%. And then if you need to tailor after months and months of that, that's when you're like, oh, maybe, I'm eating a few too many carbohydrates, or, maybe I should up my fat. All right, but now keep this.
I'm sorry.
So, but once you kind of evolve, if there was sort of two things to really avoid in terms of health, it's kind of industrial seed oils or refined oils, probably number one, which is like canola oil, safflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil. These things are heart disease. So I know there's a lot of rumors out there, saturated fat is the enemy, da-da-da-da. These oils are the thing to avoid. If you look at studies that test these, a lot of them aren't finished because the participants start dying. That's the truth. High amounts of these kind of oils are incredibly inflammatory. So if there's one food to avoid, it's the corn oil, safflower oil, soybean oil, and things like that. And replacing it, coconut oil, olive oil. I have a hypothesis that olive oil is like the healthiest thing on the planet. I just think that it's very antimicrobial. I think it's a really good fat. It's monounsaturated, so it's a kind of a low chance of oxidation. Has positive effects on cholesterol. If there are 2 oils you should have, it's coconut and olive, and then there are some other ones too. But the ones that are like that look like something that goes in your car, don't consume those. And then sugar. Sugar is the other thing, like blatant sugar. Like talking to our pros the other day, they're like, oh yeah, I had some already sugary cereal. Like I didn't even add sugar. Like you would add sugar to like Trix or whatever the sugar is. So like blatant sugar is bad, and all the other sugary foods that we know aren't good for us. If we need to kind of satisfy a fix, there are options. I eat these sort of a lot, and these are also really, really good.
For you or just
I
good?
eat those Justins every day. They're amazing.
You put a scoop of Justin's almond butter on top of a Justin's peanut butter cup, it's solid. These are amazing, Hail Mary. They are basically a brownie made out of coconut oil and a little bit of maple syrup and almond butter and cacao powder. These things are bomb, and they're so sweet you can cut it in like a quarter and it'll satisfy your fix. So there are options.
Maple syrup's like super low on the glycemic index, right? Maple syrup.
Yeah,
super
and
low.
anytime you're having, whether it's maple syrup or honey, yeah, those things can completely kind of spike you. Just have a tiny bit, right? All right, nutrition. For those of you on the road, it's not easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of pre-preparation to eat right on the road. But I'll tell you, so a couple years ago I was traveling a ton, even my job before Spartan I was traveling a ton, and then kind of here, kind of getting things off the ground. And airport healthy isn't healthy. There are a few airports that are coming around, but typically you want to bring your own food. So these are just a few shots. When you travel, I travel with these Epic bars all the time. They're phenomenal. They're a little bit expensive, but here's how you justify it. If I bring, let's say an Epic bar is, if it's on sale, it'll be like $2.50 a piece or maybe $3 a piece. But if you think about it, if you pack 12, 15 Epic bars, when you do go out, right, you can then you get like a salad with no chicken on it. The chicken was going to be $2 or $3 extra anyway, right? So now I just get a salad that's like super cheap, that's like $5 with no meat at all, and I just drop an Epic bar on it. Now I actually spent the same amount, but I have a grass-fed, way better nutritionally, way higher nutrition meal. Really dark chocolate, so this is 80%. Anything above 70 is kind of acceptable, but that's a really good kind of travel companion. It travels super easy. Really dark chocolate has a ton of antioxidants in it, and it travels well, so it's a good treat. When the person next to you is crushing M&Ms on the plane, at least you'll have something to kind of satisfy your fix. Almonds, nuts, cashews. Try to avoid peanuts. Again, peanut oil is actually one of those really inflammatory oils. I think one study they fed monkeys like 40% peanut oil, a diet that was 40% peanut oil, and in like 3 weeks, half of them had heart disease. Right? So those are super, super inflammatory. Try to avoid peanuts. Almonds, macadamia nuts, a couple Brazil nuts. These are better choices. Pistachios. Good water. So when you're traveling, water is super important. So hydrating really well. You want to gravitate towards waters that have the nutrients in them. And I think this is part of the reason why Europe is so much healthier than us, is because all their water is mineral water, whereas all of ours is like flat. All of ours has none of the salt, none of the carbonates, none of the good stuff. So like something like an Evian, a Fiji, these are better choices when you're on the road. Just the extra buck or whatever is worth it. And then coffee, because that's a problem. But